Higuruma's introduction into Jujutsu Kaisen is one of the coldest reveals in the series. Compared to Hikari's introduction with that notable static shot, and you have two very iconic moments in the season. Even when you look at story beats like Maki's reawakening, the presence of these characters is overwhelming. It's amazing, but also in theory, it feels like it shouldn't work. JJK Season 1 is an entirely different genre than JJK Season 3. There's the art style, of course, but more fundamentally, the philosophy behind character storytelling, pacing, and the sectioning of storylines. Whereas Yuji was the main protagonist of Season 1, it feels like every character gets their moment to shine in Season 3. One isn't better than the other, but it is a jarring shift in terms of narrative. During the beginning of JJK, there's a lot of build-up regarding characterization, world building, the power system, and main plot. There's all of these pieces falling into place as the greater, overarching narrative gets set in stone, with Sukuna, Kenjaku, Yuji, and his allies clashing with one another in preparation for something grander. During the second season with the Shibuya incident though, cracks in the foundations start to form. Fights are scattered around the city. New levels of power are displayed and reached as conflicts rise higher than they have before and burn brighter than any one of them ever has. Enemies fall and allies are beaten. Yuji, our previous main character, is one of the fallen. If these instances were on an intensity scale, JJK Season 1 would be at a 3.5 and Season 2 would be at a 10. In that intensity, we focus on Nanami, Megumi, Nobara, Meimei, and just about any sorcerer that was there that night. All of them don't get the same level of depth, but they do accept that level of focus that captures their importance to the battle. During this season of JJK, you could recognize that the tonal and philosophical shift was changing into what it is today with Season 3. You get those little previews into what the story is becoming. With Season 3 of the anime, we understand the new storytelling philosophy completely with some of the most recent episodes. Higuruma demanded half the episode be a backstory about him because it dictates a lot about what his purpose is now as a sorcerer. Hikari required an infiltration sequence because his conviction combined with his stubbornness gives him power as a human being and a sorcerer. When we were given private viewing of Maki's retribution to Jujutsu Society and her family, we were presented with a stern ruthlessness, but also a sort of sentimentality to the ones who have supported her to get to where she is now. In these character moments, these episodes were entirely surrounding these new people and new versions of old characters. We'll get into it more, but Yuji, who acts as a main character at times, isn't the same kind of protagonist that he was during previous seasons. I talked about it in a recent short, but the one thing that JJK has done wonderfully is character storytelling. You'd think that in the series where all of the fandom ever does is talk about fights and power scaling, that would be all it had going for it. Instead, the anime emphasizes this shift in priority by arranging certain scenes to move slower, with more pause, to highlight certain emotions a character may be feeling. With Maki's reawakening, the scene on the beach with Mai serves as a wonderful dichotomy between what occurs spiritually and what is happening physically. You can tell by the church hymns detailing the soundtrack and the imagery occurring around them with birds and the sun rays. It's not only felt in what they say, but in the environment as well. This kind of storytelling comes off as so strong that it functions as main character treatment. That is the thing about the new season of JJK. In a weird way, it feels like there are no main characters in this hodgepodge of motivations and plot points. The world is moving as it naturally would, with the directors knowing when to shine a spotlight on someone and for how long. With their work, they need to focus on what kind of angle they want to present the character's story in to portray them in a way that does the source material justice. One example of this phenomena is the introduction to Hikari. Everyone noted the unusualness of the single static shot composition of this scene. 4 minutes of micro adjustments in characters' faces and motions from the corner of the room that should feel jarring, especially for animation, but we're not going to discuss the specifics about the techniques used. I want to note how it contrasts with the manga panels in terms of storytelling. In the manga, there's constant close-ups to the characters' faces, the environment, and anything else to keep audience retention through discussion that defines defines Hikari as a character. It's the typical kind of panels you would expect from any manga. This is where the anime steps in and takes it further than it truthfully deserved. Whereas the manga couldn't maintain that single shot with viable success, the animators understood their medium was perfect for it. I like to imagine the directors took inspiration from live action film for this kind of composition, and it makes sense with everything that MAPPA has going on with their other projects as well. In this scene specifically, the static shot adds a tenseness. It allows the viewer to focus more intently on all the movements Hikari and Yuji are doing. There's a layer of suspense making you wonder if anything is going to go wrong in this infiltration. When it inevitably does go sideways, it's a natural progression of emotions that is conveyed through the actual subject matter of the conversation, but also the cinematography. The soundtrack during the redefining of Yuji's character created that perfect crescendo to reframe who he is as a person. It creates a cinematic atmosphere that has been there since, frankly, the middle of season 2, but more so carved itself out of the anime sphere within season 3. Going to watch the first 2 episodes of this season in the theaters proved to me that this whole season was going to be what we referred to in the anime scene as movie quality. At a certain point, we also have to discuss the standards of movie quality anime. In my opinion, Frieren falls under that scope of quality for some of the same reasons, but also some different reasons. It can't only be top-notch in terms of animation, but also needs to be top-notch in terms of cinematography and storyboarding, especially when it comes to the storytelling. The quality we speak of needs to go beyond picture fidelity. For Jujutsu Kaisen, the way that they've manifested this kind of quality lies in the advancement of their fluid animation and cinematography, but also their character storytelling. For dramatic effect, the animators aren't afraid to slow things down to a snail's pace. In order to enhance immersion, they aren't afraid to alter some specifics about a scene that works either way. They've done the best they can to make it their adaptation. This is seen as well in the Higuruma episodes. In the scenes that introduced Higuruma, I think it was a genius idea to lead with the flashback. With an episode that some found boring or slow, I saw it as the directors trying to rope me into understanding and empathizing with this person. From solely the scenes in the theater, Higuruma comes off as jaded, pessimistic, and apathetic. However, with the context of his awakening, we come to understand that he was one of the people trying to work against an oppressive system. Through his curse technique paired with his domain, we can clearly see that he still regards the court system as something that can be utilized. Looking at its rules, there's a chance for everybody to make their own case regarding the accusation. During his flashbacks, we can make sense of his intelligence, his vulnerability, and both of those qualities about himself eating away at each other. This type of character storytelling is open and very expressive. Without the context, the specifics of his power wouldn't make any sense. At the end of the fight, the deactivation of his technique would have made people recoil. This aspect of the conflict needs to be set straight so that there's a point to putting on a show in terms of production. In that avenue, the Higuruma episodes do a wonderful job as well. A spectacular tool they used in it was lighting. When he arose from the bathtub, the mood lighting leading up to his domain expansion was ominous. It was causing you to believe in Higuruma's elusiveness as a strength rather than a weakness. The lighting used during the trials uses warm hues, acting official yet given the situation provides some suspense. During the first part of the fight, the vibrant lights are used to overwhelm the scene, the red particularly providing a sense of danger. Fast forwarding to the end, cool lights are used to emanate a sense of introspection for both characters. Yuji admitted to his crimes and Higuruma is partial to his roots of becoming a lawyer. Both of these characters are growing as they approach to deliver their final blow. I haven't even mentioned it, but the music during this whole escalation of events helps envelop the scenario in that former harsh energy and latter contemplative nature. In introducing the video, I mentioned that the characters, knowing how overwhelming they are and how much attention they demand, shouldn't work together to create a comprehensive story. After all, Much of what I understand from other shonen anime are meek characters or people who are intricate without being showy. Even Frieren, my other top anime from this season, has plenty of stories to tell with its residents, but it is about the furthest you can be from something like the Shibuya incident and the Culling games. Jujutsu Kaisen, with its production and storytelling methods, isn't afraid to give space and time to a side, or even tertiary character. Even hinting at intentions is viable, but it doesn't stop solely at a mention. The idea of an absent main character is a frequent joke in the community, dictating that Yuji isn't even the main character of his own story. I would agree, but I'd use different wording. Yuji Itadori acts as an anchor for the story. He is always someone the author can rely on to bring the narrative back on track with his actions. However, in the meantime, his allies and enemies are going to be making moves with him or behind his back to progress their stories. In JJK, the animators aren't afraid of giving these side characters main character treatment within their own arcs. They gain that level of importance and remain with that potency through the end of the manga. I apologize if I'm not making sense, but if you do understand, this is what I mean when the world building is so great in JJK. This is character storytelling, but to an extent. The world needed to open up to the side characters and such. The power system is an important factor in JJK, which isn't skipped out on following the others going forward in the story. The definition of a story is always evolving, and JJK has taken it to another level. Thank you very much for watching. See you all later, you cool people.